Most people get told the same thing. Save 10% of your income. Stay consistent. Trust the process. And if you started early, maybe that works. But if you are a late starter, if you are over 40 and looking at your account right now wondering how you are going to close this gap in time, 10% is not a strategy. It is a slow leak. You are not behind because you failed. You are behind because nobody gave you the right architecture for your specific stage. Today, that changes. We are breaking down two distinct wealth frameworks. The 7-3-1, built for speed, for the person who needs to close distance fast. And the 9-6-8, built for stability, for the person who has built some momentum and needs to protect and compound what they have. By the end of this video, you are going to know exactly which one fits where you are right now. Not in theory, with real numbers, with real math, and a clear path forward. This is not motivation. This is not a pep talk. This is a diagnostic session. So pay attention, because what you decide after this video could mean the difference between catching up and continuing to fall further behind. Here is what most financial advice gets wrong for late starters. It treats everyone the same. The 28-year-old with 40 years ahead of them gets the same generic recommendation as the 48-year-old with maybe 15 years of serious accumulation left. Same 10% rule, same index fund pitch, same timeline assumptions. That is not guidance. That is negligence dressed up as advice. The problem is not that you are not saving. Most people over 40 who come to this channel are saving something. The problem is architecture. The structure underneath your financial decisions determines whether your money works at the speed your stage demands. Pick the wrong structure and it does not matter how disciplined you are. You are pushing against your own system. Think of it this way. A blueprint for a sprinter and a blueprint for a fortress are not the same blueprint. They serve different purposes. They require different materials. They are optimized for different outcomes. If you build a fortress when you need speed, you are stuck in first gear on a highway. If you sprint when you need protection, you have got no seatbelt. The framework you choose right now, at your age, at your stage, is the most important financial decision you will make this year. Not which stock to buy, not which fund to pick. The architecture comes first. Let us start with the 7-3-1. This framework is designed specifically for late starters who need velocity. If you are between 40 and 55 and your net worth is not where you need it to be, this is the engine you want to understand. Every number in this framework has a job, and each job is about one thing: closing the gap faster than a traditional savings approach ever could. The 7 means you cap your living expenses at 70% of your take-home income. Not 80, not 85, 70. If you are bringing home $5,000 a month after taxes, your essential living costs, housing, food, transportation, utilities, insurance, everything that keeps the lights on and the roof over your head, that entire category gets $3,500. Not a dollar more. This sounds harsh, but it is honest. You are a late starter. You do not have the luxury of spending like someone who started at 25. The 3 is where this framework becomes powerful. 30% of your take-home goes directly into your wealth engine. On that same $5,000 monthly income, that is $1,500 every single month going into assets. Not into savings sitting in a checking account, into growth assets, broad market ETFs, dividend-producing funds, the vehicles that compound over time. Now here is the math that matters. $1,500 a month invested consistently, earning an average annualized return of 10%, gets you to roughly $300,000 in 10 years. That is not a guarantee. Markets fluctuate, but historically, diversified index funds have produced returns in that range over long periods. The point is that 30% deployed with discipline creates a trajectory that 10% simply cannot match, especially when you are starting late and time is your scarcest resource. And the most important rule: you invest first. The wealth engine gets funded before anything else gets spent, not whatever is left over at the end of the month. First. That single shift in order of operations is the difference between building wealth and hoping wealth happens. Now the 1. For every 10% increase in your income, your lifestyle can only grow by 1%. So if you earn a $500 raise this month, your personal spending increases by just $50. The other $450 goes straight into the wealth engine. This is the lifestyle break, and it is critical. Because the most common way late starters sabotage their own momentum is through lifestyle inflation. Income goes up, spending goes up right alongside it, and the gap never closes. The 1 in 7 to 3-1 is the mechanism that prevents that. It is not about deprivation. It is about intentional allocation. Every income increase accelerates the engine, not the lifestyle. That is the difference between someone who earns more and someone who builds more. Now let us talk about the 968. This framework is built for a different stage. If you are over 40 and you have already crossed the $100,000 to $200,000 milestone in invested assets, this is your next architecture. You have done the sprint work. Now, you need a structure that protects what you have built while continuing to compound it intelligently. The 9 means you are targeting a 9% annualized return through diversified global ETFs. Not chasing 15% on speculative plays, not trying to time the market. 9% through disciplined, diversified investing across domestic and international markets. Why 9 and not 10 or 12? Because sustainability matters more than excitement at this stage. You have accumulated something real. The goal now is to never miss a bull market while also not gambling away what took you years to build. A globally diversified ETF portfolio, rebalanced annually, has historically delivered returns in this range over multi-decade periods. The 9 is not a fantasy number. It is a disciplined target that keeps you in the market growing steadily without the volatility of concentrated bets. The 6 is what most investors in this range still get wrong. A 6-month opportunity fund held in a high-yield savings account separate from your emergency fund, not instead of an emergency fund, in addition to it. Here is why this changes everything. When the market drops 20%, which it will do at some point, most investors panic sell. They look at their account, see 5 figures or 6 figures disappearing, and they exit. They lock in the loss. The person with a 6-month opportunity fund does the opposite. They see a 20% market drop and they buy. They have the liquidity and the psychological safety to act when others are retreating. This single behavioral advantage, funded by the 6, is worth more over time than almost any investment strategy you could name. You cannot take advantage of downturns if you are underwater yourself. The 8 is about tax architecture, the 80-20 tax shield. The goal is to funnel 80% of your investment activity through tax-advantaged accounts. Roth IRA, traditional IRA, HSA, employer-sponsored 401k with matching. The math here is not complicated, but it is powerful. Your Roth IRA allows your money to grow tax-free and come out tax-free in retirement. An HSA, if you are eligible, gives you a triple tax advantage. Contributions are pre-tax, growth is tax-free, and withdrawals for qualified medical expenses are tax-free. The question is never just what you earn. The question is what you actually keep after the government takes its share. The 8 optimizes for keeping more, not through loopholes, through the legal structures that already exist and that most people simply do not use consistently. Drop one word in the comments right now, either sprint or fortress. Tell me where you are. Now let us put these 2 frameworks side by side and be direct about who wins at which stage. Because this is where clarity matters more than cleverness. If you are a late starter between 45 and 50 with limited accumulated assets, the 7-3-1 wins. Full stop. You need velocity. You need the 30% wealth engine running at full capacity. You need the lifestyle break active so every income increase converts to assets instead of spending. The 968 is not built for your stage yet. The Fortress framework assumes you have something to protect. If the primary job right now is accumulation, you need the sprint architecture. If you are sitting on $200,000 or more in invested assets, the 9-6-8 wins. You have crossed a threshold where protection and compounding become more important than maximum aggression. Chasing 30% allocation at this stage without tax optimization or an opportunity fund means you are leaving money on the table and exposing yourself to unnecessary behavioral risk during downturns. Now here is the part that does not get talked about enough: the transition. Most people who start with 7-3-1 and reach that $200,000 milestone do not know when or how to shift over. The answer is a 6 to 12-month overlap period. You do not flip a switch overnight. You begin building the 6-month opportunity fund while maintaining most of your wealth engine contributions. You start maximizing tax-advantaged accounts as a percentage of your investment activity. You gradually reduce the pure aggression of the sprint approach and layer in the stability architecture of the Fortress. Over 6 to 12 months, you complete the transition, and now you are operating inside the 9-6-8 with a portfolio that has real protection underneath it. That is not luck. That is a planned architectural evolution. Here is something that needs to be said plainly, because it is true, and because most financial content will dance around it rather than just say it. Most late starters fail not because they picked wrong investments. They fail because they picked the wrong architecture for their specific stage. And nobody told them there was even a choice to make. Running the Fortress strategy when you actually need the sprint is like being on a highway in first gear. The engine works fine. The car runs. But you are not covering distance at the speed your situation requires. You are watching everyone else pull ahead while you maintain a false sense of security. Running the sprint when you need protection is the opposite problem. No seatbelt, maximum speed. And when the road gets rough, when the market corrects, when an expense hits, when life happens, you have no buffer, no cushion, and no opportunity fund to catch you. The crash is not a market problem. It is an architecture problem. Here is what makes this difficult. Nobody taught you this distinction. Nobody sat you down at 42 and said the framework for accumulation and the framework for protection are completely different tools. The default advice you received, save more, invest regularly, stay the course, is not wrong. It is just incomplete. It does not account for your stage. It does not account for the math of being a late starter over 40 who needs to close a gap that a 25-year-old does not have to think about yet. Understanding that now does not make the past different, but it makes every decision going forward yours to make correctly. That is your responsibility from this point on. Before you leave this video, you need to run a quick diagnostic on your current situation. 3 questions. Screenshot this moment if it helps. Question 1. What percentage of your take-home income is actually going into wealth-building assets right now? Not savings sitting in a checking account. Not an emergency fund that just sits still. True growth assets. Calculate this number. If it is below 20% and you are a late starter over 40, your architecture is misaligned. Full stop. Question 2. Do you have an opportunity fund or do you only have emergency savings? These are not the same thing. Emergency savings protect your life from disruption. An opportunity fund is what you deploy when the market gives you a buying moment. If you only have one and not the other, you are either exposed to behavioral panic during downturns or you are missing the buying windows that serious wealth builders exploit. Question 3. Did your lifestyle grow faster than your wealth engine in the last 12 months? Take out your bank statements from last year and this year. Compare your spending growth to your investment growth. If your lifestyle grew at a faster rate than your asset base, lifestyle creep is actively eroding your timeline. It is not a motivation problem. It is an architecture problem. And the fix starts with the lifestyle break in the 7-3-1. That 1% rule that controls how much of every raise gets absorbed into personal spending versus redirected into assets. If your answer to that third question is yes, That is the first thing you fix. Not the investment accounts, the spending structure. Get that right, and everything else becomes possible. 2 architectures, one for sprint, one for fortress. Neither one works if you are standing still, and neither one works if you apply it to the wrong stage of your financial life. That is the core insight from everything covered today. Now you have the information. The 7-to-3-1 gives you velocity, 70% to living, 30% to the wealth engine, and the 1% lifestyle brake that makes sure every income increase accelerates your assets rather than your spending. The 9-6-8 gives you stability, 9% targeted annualized returns through global diversified ETFs, a 6-month opportunity fund that turns market downturns into buying moments, and an 80% tax-advantaged investment shield that protects what you keep. Your job this week is straightforward. Pull your last 3 months of statements. Run the 3 audit questions. Identify your stage honestly. Are you in sprint territory or fortress territory? Then lock in the blueprint that matches where you actually are, not where you wish you were or where you think you should be. No architecture works on wishful thinking. It works on honest diagnosis and consistent execution. If you are a late starter over 40, you do not have years to figure this out through trial and error. The math is unforgiving at this stage, but it is also clear. Choose the right framework. Execute it with discipline, and the compounding begins working in your direction instead of against you. Architecture builds wealth. Build it with intention, and wealth becomes irreversible. That's it. 2 architectures, one for sprint. And that's all for today's video. If you found value, I highly recommend watching the video on the screen. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Also, feel free to leave your comment below, especially if this video made you think differently. I appreciate your support more than you know. See you in the next video.